Hey guys, tonight we're going to ride deep into the heart of the Mongol Empire, a place where the wind never stops talking and diplomacy sometimes looks, well, a little odd. You've been chosen for a special mission, carrying a gift that's supposed to impress a distant city-state's ruler. It's not gold, not silk, not even jewels. No, you've been told to deliver a single horse, a magnificent warhorse with a glossy coat, a mane like midnight, and the kind of muscular build that makes you think it could run forever. The catch: this horse refuses to eat anything except oats soaked in sheep's milk, and guess who's in charge of feeding it for the entire journey? That's right, you. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop me a comment telling me your city and what time it is where you are right now. I love seeing where my sleepy travelers are tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing outside your yurt just before sunrise, the sky still bruised with deep purples and pale blues. The air smells of grass, smoke, and the faint tints of last night's mutton stew. Before you, tied to a sturdy wooden post, is your diplomatic headache, this glorious, picky eater of a horse. The stable master hands you a pouch of oats and a small leather flask of sheep's milk, both of which you'll have to ration carefully. Don't feed it the wrong thing, he warns, or it'll refuse to move for the rest of the day. You're not sure if he's joking. The Mongols knew the power of a gift horse, not in the metaphorical, don't look it in the mouth sense, but in the literal way. A fine warhorse could be worth more than an entire caravan of silk. Horses were the engine of the empire. They carried warriors across continents, delivered messages faster than any foot runner, and even served as mobile larders, providing milk and meat when times were desperate. Gifting one was a political statement. Here is the best of what we have, and it could be yours if you stay on our good side. But here's the thing, historians still debate, was the Mongol gift horse meant purely as a gesture of goodwill, or was it also a subtle way of saying, we expect you to join our network of tribute and loyalty? Some argue it was you accepted the horse, you were acknowledging Mongol authority. Others believe it was simply tradition, the way modern diplomats exchange pens or ceremonial plaques. Su set off. The horse's hooves drum against the earth with a rhythm that could lull you into a trance. The steppe stretches endlessly, rolling waves of green and gold under a sky so wide it almost feels like you could fall into it. At midday you stop by a shallow stream, unpack your supplies, and soak the oats in sheep's milk. The horse stares at you with big, liquid eyes, waiting. You can almost hear it judging you. You better get the ratio right, human. By nightfall you've covered miles, but the city-state is still far ahead. The stars come out one by one, sharp and bright, and you lie down beside your finicky traveling companion. Somewhere in the distance, wolves sing to the moon. You wonder not for the first time whether the ruler will actually appreciate this horse or just see it as another responsibility. Still, in the Mongol world, the value of a gift wasn't always about its convenience. Sometimes it was about the story you could tell later. The great Khan sent me a steed so fine it drank only sheep's milk. And tonight, that story begins with you. You wake up to the sound of the horse snorting softly beside you, its breath puffing little clouds into the cold morning air. Your joints are stiff, your blanket is damp with dew, and your first thought is, I really hope today's gift is lighter. But no, today's mission feels even stranger. You're here to deliver a single roll of silk, shimmering pale gold in the sunrise. At first glance, it seems normal enough, until the wind picks up and the fabric whispers. Not like rustling leaves, not like the flutter of wings. This is a low, almost human murmur. You freeze, holding the silk up to your ear. It's faint, but you could swear it says something in a language you don't know. A passing herder once told you the story. This silk came from far in the east, woven in a workshop where the threads were spun beside a sacred river. The weavers sang as they worked, and somehow, the sound stayed trapped in the fabric. It's meant to bring the gift's receiver visions of the giver's face in their dreams. Diplomatic silk was nothing new for the Mongols. They valued it as both currency and status symbol, easy to transport and endlessly useful clothing, banners, even armor padding. But a roll like this, that was in another category entirely. Some historians say the whispering effect was caused by an unusual weaving tension, making the threads vibrate in the wind. Others insist it was intentionally artisan's trick designed to impress foreign rulers with a touch of magic. And then there's the small group who argue it's just a legend, a bedtime story for merchants to tell around campfires. You tuck the roll into its protective leather case and mount up. The horse, From yesterday, your diplomatic problem child is still with you for now, carrying both you and the mysterious fabric. The steppe winds are stronger today, and every so often you hear that faint murmur again. You start to imagine it's addressing you directly. Careful, traveler, someone is listening. By midday you reach a market town, a knot of wooden stalls and yurts along the caravan route. The merchants eye the case at your side. One trader, draped in bright blue robes, offers you a whole camel in exchange for just a scrap of the silk. You refuse, because this isn't for sale, it's a message. The Khan isn't just sending fabric, he's sending presents. If the stories are true, the ruler who sleeps beside this silk will feel watched, perhaps even guided. Night falls as you camp beyond the town. The wind runs over the grass in long, low waves. You pull out the silk for one last look, holding it up so the moonlight hits it. The whispers seem clearer now, like the fabric knows it's close to its destination. And maybe, just maybe, you start to wonder if it's your own dreams it's been shaping all along. Morning comes with the smell of damp earth and the low bleating of goats somewhere nearby. You're halfway through packing when a man in a crimson sash approaches, leading your next responsibility. At first, you think it's just another sturdy steppe goat, the kind you've seen 1,000 times. Then the sunlight catches its horns, and you blink. They're gold, not painted plated, smooth, gleaming, catching every flicker of light like tiny suns. The man says proudly is the Khan's gift to your next stop. You reach out, half expecting the horns to be warm. Instead, they're cold, heavier than they look. The goat flicks its ears and eyes you suspiciously, as if it knows exactly how ridiculous this whole arrangement is going to be. Historically, animals with gilded horns weren't unheard of. In some Central Asian cultures, they were symbols of divine favor or impossible wealth. To the Mongols, though, they could also carry a darker undertone. Some sources suggest golden-horned goats were believed to bring both fortune and bad luck. Fortune if cared for properly, disaster if mistreated. That duality made them perfect diplomatic gifts, impressive, but also a test. You set off down the road, leading the goat by a rope tied gently around its neck. The horse lumbers behind, the silk safely packed away. The goat is surprisingly well behaved for the first mile, then it decides to stop. Completely you tug, you coax, you even try bribing it with dried apple slices from your pack. It stares into the distance, unmoved. By midday you've attracted an audience, a group of children from a nearby pasture, giggling behind their hands as they watch the foreign envoy struggle with what is essentially a very shiny lawn ornament. One old woman calls out something you don't catch, but her tone suggests it's the goat's way of judging you. You start to wonder if this is less about delivering a gift and more about seeing how much dignity you're willing to lose. For Mongol diplomacy, scholars still argue about the intent behind gifts like this. Was it pure spectacle, a display of wealth so absurd it couldn't be ignored? Or was it laced with subtle political commentary, like handing someone a puzzle? To solve a golden-horned goat requires upkeep, attention, and resources. Accepting it means committing to that care, much like accepting an alliance. As the sun dips low, the goat finally decides to move again, plodding along as if nothing happened. You reach a camp for the night, tie it beside the horse, and sit by the fire. The horns catch the firelight, throwing golden sparks into the darkness. For a moment, you think about how strange it is to cross half the steppe just to hand someone a stubborn, glittering goat. And yet, you can't help but feel, it's exactly the kind of gift no one would ever forget. Dawn breaks in soft blues and pinks, the kind of sky that makes the steppe look endless. You're halfway through your morning tea when the caravan master drops off today's diplomatic burden, a porcelain bowl cradled in layers of felt, from the edge of the world, he says. As if that explains everything. You lift it carefully from its wrappings, and the first thing you notice is how thin it is, so fine you can see light through it. The second thing you notice is the sound. When your thumb brushes the rim, it sings a faint, ringing note, like a drop of water falling into a silver cup. The story goes that the clay came from a riverbank so far away that even seasoned Mongol riders hadn't seen it, and that it was fired in a kiln built right over natural hot springs. Supposedly, if you listen closely, the bowl still remembers the bubbling water. Porcelain was a treasured commodity in the Mongol Empire's trade network, particularly the type from Chinese kilns along the southern routes. It wasn't just about beauty, it was about reach. Owning a piece meant you had access to the farthest corners of the known world. But this bowl, it feels different, delicate, almost impractical. Some historians think gifts like this were chosen specifically to make the recipient handle them with exaggerated care, reinforcing the idea that Mongol goodwill was precious and fragile. Others argue it was simply bragging rights. Look how far our influence stretches. You strap the felt-wrapped bowl to your saddle, riding slowly to keep the road from jostling it too much. Every so often, you swear you hear that faint hum again, like the porcelain is trying to talk to you. Passing riders glance at the package with curiosity, but no one dares ask. Around midday, you stop in the shade of a lone tree rare in this part of the steppe and pour a little water into the bowl. The surface trembles, and the hum deepens. For a moment before fading, you can't decide if it's just the wind playing tricks on you, or if there really is something inside the clay. By nightfall, you reach a small riverside settlement where traders camp for the night. You set the bowl beside you as you eat, and even in the flicker of firelight it looks impossibly perfect. You think about how many hands it passed through to get here: potters, traders, caravan guards, and how each one must have wondered why it wasn't just kept for themselves. That's the strange thing about diplomacy under the Mongols. The gift wasn't just an object, it was a journey, and you were part of it now. The next morning greets you with a brisk wind and the smell of wood smoke drifting from a nearby camp. You're barely finished packing when a young courier trots up, grinning in a way that suggests your day is about to get complicated. A hooded wicker cage, and inside, two amber eyes blink back at you. It's a hawk, sleek, sharp-beaked, feathers patterned like shadows on snow, trained to steal, the courier says cheerfully, as if that's completely normal. You raise an eyebrow. He explains that this bird isn't just for hunting, it has been taught to swoop into tents or market stalls and snatch small shiny objects, rings, coins, maybe even an occasional belt buckle. The perfect gift for an ally, he adds. You can't tell if he's joking. The Mongols were masters of falconry, and birds of prey often featured in diplomatic exchanges. Usually, they were prized for hunting skill, but this one's extracurricular talent is unusual, to say the least. Historians still debate whether such trained thieves were real or just colorful stories passed along by astonished merchants. Some argue that gifting such a bird was a subtle power play. It could bring wealth, but it could also take it away depending on where loyalties lay. You secure the hawk's cage to your saddle, the porcelain bowl safely packed on the other side. The horse flicks its ears, clearly unimpressed by this growing pile of fragile and unpredictable cargo. The goat with the golden horns still tagging along until you can deliver it watches the bird intently, as if wondering whether it might be edible. By midday, you stop to rest near a cluster of yurts. A boy wanders over, staring at the cage. Before you can warn him, the hawk lets out a piercing cry, the kind that makes the hair on your arms stand up. You lift your hand slowly, and the bird hops onto your glove, light yet powerful. You can feel the coiled energy in its talons, the way it tracks every glint in the camp. Later, as the sun drops low, you test the courier's claim. From your saddlebag you take a small bronze coin and toss it a short distance away. In a blur of wings, the hawk snatches it mid-air and lands back on your arm, coin clamped in its beak. You laugh, partly in delight, partly because you realize you'll have to explain this to the recipient. That night, as you sit by the fire, the hawk sleeps with its head tucked under a wing. You think about the message hidden in this gift: trust, skill, and maybe a quiet warning. In the Mongol world, a present could be both a favor and a test, and you're carrying more than one of those right now. The morning sun rises behind you, casting your shadow long across the grass. You've barely had a chance to sip your salty milk tea when a cart creaks into camp, pulled by two shaggy oxen. The driver hops down, gestures for you to help, and together you unroll what feels like an entire field's worth of felt. When the last fold drops open, you realize it's a tent. No, not just any tent. A yurt cover, patterned with what must be 1,000 different designs. Squares of bright red felt stitched with curling blue vines. Triangles of green, each one embroidered with tiny galloping horses. Circles in gold thread, abstract and hypnotic. Every panel is different, as if each was made by a separate hand with its own story to tell. The driver beams. Anyone who sleeps inside will dream of their past lives, he says, like it's an everyday fact. Felt tents were as practical to the Mongols as swords and saddles, warm in winter, cool in summer, and quick to assemble. But this one isn't about function, it's about spectacle. Scholars still argue about the origins of these 1,000-pattern yurts. Some believe they were commissioned for major alliances, each patch contributed by a different clan as a sign of unity. Others think they were pure theater, designed to overwhelm visiting envoys with color and craftsmanship. You roll the felt carefully and secure it to your already burdened horse, which gives you a withering look. Between the goat, the hawk, the porcelain bowl, the whispering silk, and now this, Your mount is beginning to resemble a moving diplomatic warehouse. The road today cuts through low hills, dotted with wildflowers. The wind tugs at the felt's edges, and for a moment you imagine it's breathing like the tent is alive, waiting to be assembled so it can whisper its dreams into someone's mind. At midday, you pass a caravan heading the other way. One of the riders slows to ride beside you, and eyeing the colorful bundle, mutters something about dangerous magic. You decide not to ask. By nightfall, you camp near a ridge. For fun, you drape a section of the felt over your sleeping area. The patterns glow softly in the firelight, strange shadows dancing across your face, whether it's the day's exhaustion or the fabric's rumored power. You slip into dreams that feel far too vivid, faces you don't know, landscapes you've never seen, and a voice you can't quite place calling your name. When you wake, the felt is still warm, as if it remembers. You're packing up camp when the scent hits you, sweet, spicy, and so strong it's as if someone tipped over a perfume shop. You turn to see the source, a caravan rolling toward you, 6 camels in a neat line, each draped in bright red cloth, and carrying ornate chests. The lead driver waves you over. Your next gift, he says, smiling through a thick black beard. You open one of the chests and nearly stagger backward. Inside are bundles of cinnamon, sacks of cloves, jars of musk, and tiny pouches of saffron so potent you can almost taste it in the back of your throat. The air around the caravan hums with scent. One old merchant swears that the fragrance can be smelled 3 days before the caravan arrives, which he insists is useful for diplomacy. The recipient starts feeling honored before the envoy even knocks on the city gate. The Mongols prized luxury goods like these not only for personal use, but as tools of influence. Spices and perfumes came from as far as India, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia, carried across the Silk Road in long guarded convoys. A gift of such richness, said, we can reach farther than you can imagine. Historians still discuss whether caravans like this were primarily diplomatic gestures or subtle displays of economic dominance. After all, you couldn't easily ignore a smell that seemed to fill the horizon. You lead the camel train along the river path, the wind carrying waves of scent that make every passerby turn their head. A few curious traders fall in beside you, peppering you with questions. Is that real saffron? What's in the jars? You keep your answers vague for all. This isn't just cargo, it's a message. By midday, you're almost dizzy from the constant aroma. The hawk in its cage seems restless, shifting from perch to perch, and even the goat with golden horns looks mildly offended, as though the smell is too refined for its taste. The porcelain bowl remains carefully swaddled, the whispering silk tucked safe. The 1,000-pattern felt riding quietly behind you. That night, you camp near a bend in the river. The camels kneel in the sand, their long lashes blinking in the moonlight. You crack open one chest just enough to let the night breeze mingle with the perfume. For a moment, the whole camp smells like a palace garden halfway across the world. You can't help but think if scent could carry alliances, this caravan would have already sealed the deal. Morning breaks with a pale haze, and you're handed your next odd treasure, a water clock. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary wooden box with intricate brass fittings, delicate pipes, and a small hourglass stuck on one side. But here's the twist: no matter how long you watch, the clock's hands seem to lag behind real time by about half a day. It's as if time itself is running slow inside this little box. The Mongols were fascinated by foreign inventions, especially those that came from the Islamic world. Astronomers, engineers, and scholars who brought complex gadgets to the empire. Water clocks were prized for their beauty and precision. But this one, historians still debate if the slow timekeeping was a mechanical flaw, or an intentional political metaphor. Maybe it was a subtle hint that Mongol time didn't quite match up with anyone else's schedule, or perhaps it was a way to remind recipients that patience was the greatest virtue in diplomacy. You carry the clock carefully, cradling it like a newborn. As you ride, you watch the water drip steadily from one chamber to the next, a quiet hypnotic rhythm against the relentless wind. Merchants and travelers stop to marvel, asking what it does. You explain, though you admit you don't fully understand why it's designed to run slow. The local scholars debate heatedly. Some say it's a symbol of Mongol dominance over time itself, others think it's a joke that only the consort can appreciate. When you arrive at your destination, you place the clock on a carved wooden table inside the governor's tent. The recipient peers curiously, tapping the brass fittings and murmuring about strange craftsmanship. For a long moment, the only sound is the ticking drip of water, marking a time out of sync with the world outside. And maybe that's exactly the point. The sun blazes high as you prepare to carry your next gift, a chunk of ice sealed tight in a block of salt. It feels almost absurd. Here you are, trekking through the summer steppe with a cold block of ice that, by all logic, should have melted long ago. But no, this isn't any ordinary ice. It's from the Eternal Mountain, a peak so high and sacred that even the gods were said to envy its chill. Legends say. This ice was harvested during the coldest winter and sealed within salt to preserve it for months, if not years. The salt acts as a protective shield, preventing the ice from melting even in the hottest heat. You carry it wrapped carefully in felt, a silent testament to the Mongols' mastery over nature and time. This gift symbolized an unbreakable and lasting alliance, just like the ice that refuses to melt. Historians debate the exact methods used to preserve the ice. Some claim it was a clever early form of refrigeration. Others argue it was ritual, magic believed to bind the recipient to eternal loyalty. Whatever the truth, the ice was a marvel and a mystery to those who received it. As you trudge forward, the sun beats down relentlessly, and you wonder how this frozen relic survived the journey. Locals gaze curiously as you pass, whispering tales of the frozen mountain and the mysterious powers it holds. At night, you rest beside the block, feeling the cool radiate against your skin. A sharp contrast to the desert heat. Their strange, cold gift isn't just about the ice, it's about a promise of endurance. A reminder that some things are meant to last forever, even when everything else changes. The morning fog hangs low as you unwrap your next gift, a thick leather-bound book covered in strange, curling symbols. You flip it open and blink. None of the characters look familiar. Not the language you know. Not the script your interpreter recognizes. It's a mystery wrapped in parchment. This book was crafted by scribes working under the Great Khan's orders, filled with arcane symbols and diagrams that may have been part code, part spiritual text. Some historians argue it was a manual for secret Mongol rituals. Others think it was a cryptic political manifesto meant only for the eyes of select nobles. To this day, scholars still debate whether anyone has ever fully deciphered its meaning or if it was deliberately designed to be unreadable. A symbol of the inscrutable power of the Mongol court. You carry it with reverence, though you're tempted to peek inside every so often, hoping to uncover some clue. Along the road, curious travelers ask about it, but you can only shake your head. It's less a book and more a puzzle, a gift that says, "We hold secrets you may never understand." By night, you find yourself tracing the cryptic shapes with your finger, wondering what stories they hide. Maybe some truths are meant to remain a mystery, a silent reminder that some gifts carry power simply by being unknowable. The campfire crackles softly as you unwrap your next diplomatic curiosity, a bronze singing bowl. At first glance, it looks like a simple weathered vessel, but when you strike its rim gently with a wooden mallet, a deep, resonant tone fills the air, one that seems to vibrate not just around you but deep inside your chest. The Mongols, like many steppe cultures, valued sound in rituals and ceremonies. Singing bowls were believed to have the power to cleanse spirits or bless gatherings, yet this one carries an unusual reputation. Local legends say its tone can either bring peace or stir unrest, depending on the listener's mood. Some say it's a blessing, others whisper it's a curse. Historians debate whether these tales were propaganda to keep enemies wary or if there was truly something mystical about the bowl's resonance. Some suggest it might have been specially crafted with unique alloys to produce such haunting sounds. As you carry the bowl, you can't help but wonder, when the recipient strikes it, will they hear a lullaby or a warning? Either way, it's sure to leave an impression far beyond its size. You unfold a large, weathered parchment that is said to be a map, but the more you look, the less it makes sense. Rivers that twist in impossible loops, cities that vanish and reappear in different spots, and mountains drawn where only flat plains should be. The cartographers puzzled, both fascinating and frustrating. This mysterious map was gifted by Mongol scouts who claimed it showed secret trade routes and hidden cities. Some believe it was a coded message, a test to see if the recipient could decipher the empire's true reach. Others think it might be a whimsical creation, meant to confuse rivals or keep treasures concealed. Historians argue to this day about the map's authenticity and purpose. Was it a genuine guide, a clever ruse, or something else entirely? As you hold the map, you can't help but feel like you're staring into a world both real and imagined, a reminder that sometimes what we see depends on what we're willing to believe. The sun is warm on your back as you prepare to escort the next gift, a living leopard, draped in a fine silk cloak that shimmers in the light. The animal's eyes glint with cautious intelligence as it prowls inside the wooden cage. This isn't just a symbol of power, it's a bold statement of dominance and grace. The Mongols prized exotic animals, especially big cats, as emblems of strength and prestige, but bringing a leopard wrapped in silk to a foreign court, but was a diplomatic showstopper, it says. We can tame the wildest creatures and you should respect that. Some historians debate whether these animals were truly meant as gifts or as subtle threats. A wild beast in a silk cloak might inspire awe, but also unease. What happens if it breaks free? Others see it as a lavish gesture, blending danger with beauty. You keep a careful eye on the leopard, knowing that your role is not just to deliver a gift, but to maintain the fragile balance between majesty and menace it represents. The court awaiting this beast will certainly remember the moment the silken leopard arrived, and so will you. The morning air is cool as you unpack the next treasure, a chessboard inlaid with gleaming gems, rubies, emeralds, and sapphires catching the light like a miniature battlefield. The chess pieces are unlike any you've seen before, carved from ivory, bone, and precious metals, shaped into mysterious creatures and symbols unfamiliar to most. This is the chessboard of peace, a gift said to seal negotiations through the universal language of strategy. The Mongols valued games not just for entertainment, but as tools for teaching, tactics, and diplomacy. Presenting this board wasn't just about play, it was an invitation to negotiate, to think, to plan alliances carefully. Historians still debate the origins of this particular set. Was it crafted by master artisans of the Silk Road or by secretive Mongol designers blending various cultural influences? And why were the pieces so different from traditional chess figures? Some believe the unique shapes were designed to symbolize different clans or territories, adding layers of meaning to each move. You imagine the foreign rulers, gathered around the board, measuring each other's skill and patience. It's more than a game, it's a dance of power, a silent conversation, where each move can shift the fate of empires. The sun dips low as you pull out a small leather bag filled to the brim with countless needles, sharp, shining, and seemingly endless. Every time you think you've counted them all, there are more. The messenger grins and says, this bag of infinite needles symbolizes a relationship as strong and endless as the threads they sewed. In Mongol culture, sewing needles were more than tools. They were metaphors for connection and survival. A gift like this suggests a bond that holds tight, through thick and thin. Yet, the idea of an infinite number of needles might also hint at endless challenges and stitches to be mended, an acknowledgement that alliances require constant care. Historians debate the exact meaning. Was the bag a simple token of goodwill, or a subtle warning that maintaining peace would require vigilance and effort? Some even suspect it was a humorous nod to the many prickly negotiations ahead, that as you carry the bag, the needles glint in the fading light, reminding you that, in diplomacy, every detail matters, and sometimes the smallest tools wield the greatest power. The morning fog still clings to the step when you receive the next gift, a carved wooden box filled with hundreds of tiny mirrors, each no bigger than a coin. They glitter like scattered stars as you spill them into your palm. The messenger explains they're fragments of the sky, meant to reflect the recipient's soul back to them. Mirrors were highly prized in Mongol diplomacy, not just as luxury items but as symbolic tools. They represented clarity, truth, and sometimes self-awareness. Gifting mirrors could mean see yourself as we see you, a complex message wrapped in simple glass. Some historians argue that these tiny mirrors were used to spy, catching light, signals or secret messages. Others believe they were purely ceremonial, part of rituals to protect allies from evil spirits. You tuck the mirrors carefully into your pack, feeling their cold weight against your skin. As you ride, you wonder what reflections the recipient will see and whether they'll understand the message hidden in these shining fragments. The day begins with a solemn handoff, a sealed scroll wrapped in crimson silk. This isn't just any message, it's a treaty draft, written in a code only a few Mongol nobles can decipher. The scroll is said to contain promises, threats, and invitations all tangled together in elegant calligraphy. The Mongols were skilled diplomats, and their use of coded messages added layers to negotiations. Some scholars believe these scrolls were deliberately ambiguous, allowing rulers to interpret them favorably while still honoring the letter of the law. Others argue that such cryptic texts were a way to test loyalty only. Those truly trusted could read between the lines. You carry the scroll carefully, aware that a single misstep could unravel fragile alliances. At night you examine the intricate symbols, trying to guess their hidden meanings. History shows that many such scrolls never reached their intended recipients, intact, lost, destroyed, or intercepted. The delicate balance of power often depended on these fragile documents, and as their carrier, you hold more than just parchment, you hold the fate of kingdoms. A cool breeze rustles the tall grass as you prepare to deliver your next, rather unusual gift, a jar filled with preserved snowflakes. The jar's glass walls shimmer in the sunlight, each crystal delicate and unique, frozen in time like tiny stars caught in a dance. The Mongols valued snow as a symbol of purity and impermanence. Preserving snowflakes was a rare art, and gifting them was like offering a moment of eternity, a fleeting beauty captured forever. Some historians debate whether this was a poetic gesture or a display of technological prowess, as keeping snow intact for long journeys required ingenious methods. You imagine the recipient's surprise, perhaps awe or confusion, at receiving such an ephemeral treasure. Was it a message about the fleeting nature of power, or a wish for peaceful seasons ahead? Scholars still argue, some suggesting it was a playful riddle, others that it held deeper spiritual significance. You tuck the jar safely into your pack, and mount your horse. As the landscape blurs past, you think about how this fragile gift, so cold yet so delicate, perfectly embodies the complexities of Mongol diplomacy, part mystery, part marvel, all wrapped in the endless expanse of the steppe. The sun is dipping below the horizon as you receive your next gift, a delicate, hand-carved wooden puzzle box, its surfaces etched with intricate geometric patterns that seem to shift as you turn it in your hands. The box promises secrets, but unlocking them is no simple task. These puzzle boxes were crafted by master artisans for the Mongol elite. They served as both gifts and tests, containing hidden compartments meant to hold secret messages or treasures. Accepting such a gift was a sign of trust, but also a challenge. Could you solve the box and uncover what lay inside? Historians debate whether these boxes were practical tools of espionage or symbolic gestures of alliance and mystery. Some think they were designed to bewilder foreign dignitaries, while others argue they represented the complexity and cunning of Mongol politics. As you journey onward, the box sits on your saddlebag, its secrets tucked just beneath the surface. You wonder what awaits the lucky recipient. Will they see it as a puzzle to solve, a gift to cherish, or a reminder that beneath every alliance lies a labyrinth of hidden meanings? The final gift arrives with a dusker finely woven carpet, its patterns swirling in vibrant reds and blues, telling stories of distant lands and heroic deeds. The carpet feels thick and warm beneath your hands, a tapestry of both art and history. In Mongol diplomacy, carpets were more than decoration, they were portable palaces, symbols of hospitality and power. Offering a carpet was an invitation to share space and trust, to step into the giver's world and story. Some historians argue that carpets carried secret codes in their designs, messages woven in threads that only the initiated could read. Others believe they simply embodied the Mongol spirit of connection across vast distances. You imagine the recipient rolling out this carpet, feeling the weave beneath their feet, and understanding the depth of the gift, a soft place to rest amid hard politics, a reminder that even amidst conquest, there is room for beauty and peace. As night falls, you wrap the last package and look back on the strange journey of gifts you've carried, each one a thread in the tangled tapestry of empire and diplomacy, power and mystery, power and mystery. Now slowing down the pace as you drift gently toward rest. The night wraps around you like a soft blanket, quiet and calm. Your breath slows, matching the gentle rhythm of the world outside. Imagine the whispering silk, faint and soothing, brushing softly against your skin as you float in a sea of stars. The golden horns of the goat gleam in the distance, like twin lanterns guiding you toward peaceful dreams. The delicate porcelain bowl sings a faint lullaby, its ringing notes blending with the rustling felt of the thousand-pattern tent overhead. The hawk rests silently, feathers soft as clouds, while the fragrant spices swell like warm memories through the cool night air. The frozen ice block holds the chill of eternity, calming and steady. All these gifts, their stories, their mysteries fold into the quiet hum of the night, carrying you gently toward sleep. Let the rhythm of distant drums fade into silence. The soft glow of campfires dim to embers. You are safe here, cradled in the vastness of history and the gentle sweep of the steppe. Good night, traveler.